The American people proved last night, we are garbage. The majority of Americans are garbage, beautiful, fragrant, effective garbage, and I'm so happy about it.
Well, I've always known you had that garbage in you, Michael. Alrighty, folks, you saw it here. Donald Trump pulled off the greatest comeback in the history of politics, sealing him as the 47th president of the United States of America. There has never been a better time to join us as we fight the left and build the future. Join us right now at dailywire.com/subscribe with code Trump for 47% off. Hey, what other code would we use? So I'm going to start today's show by just saying, Baruch Hashem. Okay, for those who don't speak Hebrew, that just means thank God. Blessed is God. Because truly, thank you, God. Seriously, thank you, God. The country's going to be way better off. The world is going to be way better off. And see, here's the thing. God spared Donald Trump's life during this election cycle. Now, look, I know a lot of our listeners may not be big on the God. They may not believe in God, but I have to say, it sometimes is pretty damn difficult not to see his hand moving in history. And God's hand was clearly on Donald Trump when Donald Trump turned his head 20 degrees and avoided having his brains blown out live on national television. And here's the thing. God spared Donald Trump's life for a reason. I don't know God's reasons. You don't know God's reasons. But he's making his hand pretty damned apparent to anyone who is willing to watch. Now, listen, I'll admit it. I've questioned some of God's writing decisions on this particular season of Trump. We had not one but two assassination attempts. The feeble and elderly president actually going like brain dead live on national TV. The replacement candidate being a professional 5-star word salad chef. Her picking not the popular Democratic governor of a swing state, but a nut job who has a clear physical relationship with Gumby. Tony Hinchcliffe eating the dogs, Peanut. Seriously, God, what's going on with the writing this season? It's like the last season of Game of Thrones. But boy, oh boy, can God stick the landing. Season finale of Trump Season 8, unbelievable. So good, 10 out of 10, would watch again, will download for the plane. Best season of Trump ever. But I actually want to talk seriously about the meaning of this election. And let's begin with the man who won this election and is the 47th president of the United States, Donald John Trump. Last night on the air, I got into an interesting discussion with Skeletor impersonator Andrew Klavan. The conversation was about Trump and what made him different from other Republicans. Donald Trump, as I pointed out, has actually run this race as a moderate Republican. Positionally, he's been to the left of Mitt Romney on a wide variety of issues. So it wasn't that Trump is super different in terms of policy. He's not some sort of throwback to a rock-ribbed conservatism. That's not actually what happened here. What makes Donald Trump different is that he, as a human, was built for this moment. Now, there have been a lot of biblical comparisons for President Trump. Many people point out that King David had some pretty serious personal flaws, but he was beloved of God. He also happened to write Psalms. But I have a biblical comparison I think is better. Noah. So in the book of Genesis, the flood is coming, and God finds a man who can build an ark. A man who is, as God puts it in the Bible, Ish Tzadik Tamim Haya Bedorotav. So again, a little Hebrew lingo for you there. That means a righteous man, complete in his generation, like full in his generation. Now, commentators on the Bible argue over what this means. If you say that he was good and if he was full in his generation, does that mean he was especially good because he was in a bad generation? Or is it the other thing? What many commentators say, that Noah, in any other generation, would have been a normie. He'd just been a normal person. But in this generation, he was built for his time. It was a bad generation, and he was a complete man, a man in full for his time. That's Donald Trump. Donald Trump is built for this time. Donald Trump has absorbed more punishment than any politician in modern history. No exaggeration, not close. Twice impeached, 4 times indicted, fined tens of millions of dollars for nonsense, almost shot in the head, then almost shot in the head again. And listen, we all know what the iconic image of Donald Trump is, the one that's going to go down in the history books. It is not going to be him at McDonald's, as awesome as that was, or him driving the garbage truck, as hilarious as that was, or the mugshot, or even him coming down the golden escalator. It is this particular photo. I want you to look at this particular photo. This photo is everything. This is why Donald Trump is the most important man of our age. Because what this photo is courage in the face of danger. It is defiance in the face of assault. It is the American flag floating in the background. Cheesy, unironic, patriotic symbol of the world's most kick-ass country. That's Donald Trump. He's Ish Tamim Bedorotav. He was built for this time. He was built for a time when America has to stare down its enemies abroad and tell them that, as Trump once said to me, we might have to bomb the out of them. But also a time when hard-nosed business negotiations can yield international peace, which is what happened last time. He was built for a time when America has to choose between a future of economic dynamism and innovation or one of stagnation and decline. He was built for a time in which America had to choose between the power of treating each other as individuals, and I got to tell you, I've seen Donald Trump do it. No one treats people as individuals more than Donald Trump. Really, truly, no one on earth. Or treating people as members of oppressor or oppressed classes. Yes, Donald Trump has tons of flaws, tons of them. So did Noah. Check out the chapters that happened right after the flood. Gets a little weird, but when the flood is coming, you need a man who bucks the strictures of a corrupt generation and builds the boat. And Donald Trump builds the boat. America is not only going to survive the storms, America is going to rebuild once the waters recede. And the waters are now, thank you God, beginning to recede. These times, this generation requires a middle finger. Donald Trump is and always was that middle finger. Donald Trump has compared himself to a lot of different presidents, Washington and Jackson and Lincoln and McKinley. The man he actually most represents is another New Yorker, a garrulous, self-confident, bordering on pompous, audacious president, Teddy Roosevelt. It was TR who said this in 1910, quote, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." That's Donald Trump. Now, let's flip the coin. Let's turn to the person who lost this race, Kamala Harris. Here's the thing about Kamala Harris. Nothing. Literally nothing. She was not joy. She was not brat. She was not a good candidate. She was not intelligent. She was not articulate. She was nothing. She has always been nothing. She has never won a single vote in her entire career outside the blue state of California. She has never truly been subjected to the rigors of a serious public examination. She is just a hologram. She's a creation of a party machinery. She's an empty vessel. And here's the thing, that was totally apparent every single time she opened her mouth. No amount of celebrity glitter could cover up that innate emptiness, which means that Kamala Harris losing isn't about Kamala. And no, it's not really about Joe Biden either, that corpse in the Oval Office. It's about the entire corrupt machine to which Donald Trump and the American people just threw out a double-barreled FU. So let's talk about that machine for a moment. That machine says that America is inherently racist, sexist, homophobic, Islamophobic. That cities burning is just part of the bargain of coming to grips with our own innate evil. As Tim Walz and his wife said, that smelling the tires is just part of being an American. That what America needs is an intifada revolution. That the story of America is one of a corrupt and evil nation requiring the harsh hand of liberal elites at the top of government to correct them into the harness of equity. This machine that says that American innovation is bad, it's a problem because it's exploitative, and that the job of the government is to create equality of outcome, to relieve people of the burden of responsibility and virtue, and instead hand out some government checks. That families are little torture chambers filled with nasty, hackneyed values, and that churches are repositories of cruelty rather than community. That every human being is basically, in the end, just a set of free-floating feelings, and it's the job of a cloistered elite to legitimize those feelings such that boys can even be girls through the grace of government, and your kids have to be taught that. The machine that says that American power on the world stage is somehow bad for the world, and that our enemies basically have it right. The machine that touts the virtue of spoiled brats on college campuses who shout about the evils of America while tweeting from their iPhones. The machine that manufactures narratives that are lies, overtly false, through the most powerful media mechanisms in human history, and then, unsatisfied when you won't listen to them, tries to crack down on those who disagree. The machine that lies to you and lies to you and lies to you about the economy, about foreign policy, about Joe Biden, about Kamala Harris, about social policy, about America, about the nature of reality itself. Because if you'll buy the lie, then maybe you'll go along with the program. That was the machine that lost last night. That machine is ugly, it is hideous, and it deserves to die. And last night, that machine died. That's what election 2024 was about in the end. It was about a return to, wait for it, normalcy. You feel more normal this morning. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I did a debate with Sam Harris about Trump versus Kamala. And Sam kept saying over and over and over that Donald Trump wasn't normal, and somehow Kamala was. And I'm sure Sam meant it. What he meant by that is that Trump says weird things and exaggerates and bloviates and BSs. But what I said to Sam was this. When people say they want a return to normality, they don't mean politics as usual. Because for most people in this era, politics as usual is snafu, situation normal, all effed up. What Americans are looking for is actual, true normalcy. They want to take care of their families. They want to build wealth. They want to go to church. They want to get along with their fellow Americans. And they want to dream of big things together. You know what they like? They like football, and they like marriage, and they like kids, and they like Elon Musk's rockets, and they like truckers, and they like church bake-offs. They want normal. And they've been put in the midst of a flood generation where nothing is normal, where corruption fills the earth. The only thing that has come to seem normal is that when the water levels rise slowly enough, it feels as though you've always been in water up to your neck. But that's not normal. We want normal. This election was the revenge of normal. Donald Trump is the instrument of that revenge. So is J.D. Vance. So are Elon and Joe Rogan. And yes, we here at the Daily Wire, we want normal because normal is the American dream. And sometimes, you know what it takes? A man with a golden escalator and a wild hairdo and a cartoonish speaking cadence and more personal courage and toughness. And yes, patriotism. I know, patriotism. Yes, the American flag. Yes, apple pie. Yes, motherhood. Than any of his enemies to make normal, to make America great again. Okay, in just 1 second, we're going to break down how everything went in this election because boy, oh boy. First, speaking of reality, natural disasters are indeed a reality. From the Maui fires to Hurricane Helene and Milton, we're seeing catastrophic disasters take out entire towns with minimal warning, resulting in lack of basic resources. I get it. We're wired to think it won't happen here. And then, unfortunately, in a blink, you can be in survival mode. Being prepared in advance is your best defense against the unexpected. The wellness company's emergency kits completely remove the gatekeeper and subside panic by providing you with a personalized mini pharmacy in the convenience of your own home. Bacterial infections, staph, bite wounds, UTIs, strep throat, respiratory illnesses. You no longer have to be at the mercy of somebody else to help you. You keep a fire extinguisher handy in case of a fire, right? Well, it's probably a good idea to have some basic medicines handy in the event you need them. Same mindset, different product. Getting an emergency kit is fully digital, all from the convenience of your couch. You fill out an intake form, a pharmacist reviews and approves it. Then you receive the kits in 2 weeks. The medical board approved guidebook tells you exactly what to do. This is preparedness simplified. Invest in your family's self-managed insurance plan. Head on over to urgentcarekit.com/Ben. Use promo code Ben. Save $60 plus get free shipping. USA residents only. That's urgentcarekit.com/Ben. Save $60. urgentcarekit.com/Ben. Also, let's talk about something that actually works. Efficient business finance management. You want to know how to run your company's finances smoother than a well-oiled machine? You need to check out our friends over at Ramp. Ramp is a corporate card and spend management software designed to help you save time and money and put it back in your pocket. Ramp gives your finance team unprecedented control over company spending. You can issue cards to every employee with actual limits and restrictions, a novel concept in today's world of runaway expenses. Ramp's accounting software automatically collects receipts and categorizes your expenses in real time. No more chasing down receipts. Your employees won't waste hours on expense reports, allowing you to close your books 8 times faster. Unlike most so-called money-saving solutions, Ramp actually puts cash back in your pocket. Businesses using Ramp save an average of 5% in their very first year. Plus, it's easier to set up than my son's Lego sets. You can get started, issue virtual and physical cards, start making payments in less than 15 minutes, whether you have 5 employees or 5,000. Now, get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/Shapiro. That's ramp.com/Shapiro, ramp.com/Shapiro. Cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Terms and conditions do apply. So, let's talk first about the data. So, here is the election map as it currently stands. The election map as it currently stands, as you can see, this election map does not show Arizona or Nevada in Trump's category, but Trump has those locked up. It also does not show Michigan in Trump's category. Trump has that locked up as well. Okay, which means that Donald Trump wins the election, and it is not a particularly close election in the end by the Electoral College vote. He's also going to win the popular vote. So yesterday, not to tout my own clairvoyance, but my map looks exactly like the actual map, except I went a little further and said he wins New Hampshire. He didn't win New Hampshire. He won everything else I said he was going to win. He's going to finish up this election cycle with 312 electoral votes compared to Democrats' 226. But that's not actually the chart of the evening. The chart of the evening is this one, courtesy of the New York Times. Okay, this is what they call their red shift map. Okay, the red shift map from the New York Times is the most stunning electoral map that I have seen in any election in recent memory. Look at this map. Okay, the red arrow means counties in which it went more Republican than in 2020 versus counties where it went more Democrat than in 2020. Do you see this? The entire country went more red. The entire country. This was a radical rebuke of Biden-Harris. It was a radical rebuke of the Democratic Party, a brutal, radical rebuke. And it's in every single category. And the New York Times breaks it down by county type. Urban counties, okay, Trump, urban areas, those counties. Trump shifted toward Trump by 5.2 points. Suburban shifted toward Trump, 4.3 points. Less than 50% white shifted toward Trump by 6.9 points. Over 25% Hispanic shift to Trump by almost 10 points. Okay, Hispanics are they are the big story of the election, just if we're talking demographically. We're going to look at the exit polls in just a moment. They are shocking. Large population, young, age 18 to 34, shifts to Trump, 5.6 points. Large age 65 plus population shifts toward Trump, 4.9 points. You cannot find a single area in 2020 that Joe Biden won where she did better than he did. She underperformed Joe Biden radically. Not a little, radically. Okay, meanwhile, if you take a look at the exit polling, I'm looking at the exit polling right now. The exit polling here is astounding, truly astounding. Okay, so the exit polling, this is from NBC News. The breakdown of the key states. Okay, this is across the key states. And not nationally, this is just the key states. It's an aggregation of the swing states. Across it includes Ohio, it includes Texas. Okay, so here is the breakdown. Men, 54-44 Trump. Women, 54-44 Kamala. So an absolutely even gender split. White voters, 55-43 for Trump. Black voters, 86-12 for Kamala Harris. That's not a good number for her. She needed to be well up into the 90s. What happened? Well, as we'll see in a moment, the answer was black men happened to her. Hispanic Latino, and this one just boggles the minds. It boggles the minds. You know why? Because again, Democrats think of people as members of ethnic groups. They do not think of them as individuals with hopes, dreams, and aspirations. I spent a couple nights right before the election. I was with Ted Cruz in the Rio Grande Valley, totally Hispanic area of the country. Okay, and those people, you know what they wanted? A closed border. You know what they wanted? They wanted opportunity, a pathway to make wealth. You know what they wanted? For their churches to be left alone. During this election cycle, I traveled all over the damn place. I went to Ohio with Bernie Moreno. I went to Texas with Ted Cruz. I went to Wisconsin with Eric Hovde. I went to Pennsylvania with Dave McCormick. I went to Nevada with Sam Brown. I was all over the place. Like truly all over the place. And you know what I found? What I found is that Americans of all creeds, ethnicities, colors, you know what they wanted? The same things, the American dream. That's what they wanted. When I went to Northern Ohio, super white Northern Ohio with Bernie Moreno, they wanted exactly the same things as super Hispanic Rio Grande Valley when I was campaigning with Ted Cruz. Hispanic Latino vote, 53-45 Kamala Harris. 45% of Latino votes to Donald Trump. Exit polling from Michigan last night showed Donald Trump outright winning Hispanic voters in the state of Michigan, 60-35. Those are insane numbers. They are insane numbers. Why? Because it turns out once again, and for all people who sort of suggest that America is demographically destined for particular shores, that is not true. The American dream can be true in every heart so long as people Americanize. And turns out we have a really good history in this country of Americanizing people who come here legally. We do. Asian Americans went for Kamala Harris 56-38. And other, it's about 3%, 53-43. By the way, for those who are wondering about the Jewish vote is going to clock in around 40% for Donald Trump. That is the biggest number for Jews for Republicans since Ronald Reagan in 1980 after the horrific Carter administration. How about by sex by race? White men, 59-39 for Donald Trump. White women, 52-47 for Donald Trump. Black men, 78-20 for Kamala. 20% of black men in key states voted for Donald Trump. That is a massive ground shift. Latino men, a majority of Latino men voted for Donald Trump. 54 to 44, not a little majority, a big majority. 37% of Latino women voted for Donald Trump. How about younger voters? Voters 18 to 29 in the key states, according to NBC News. 42% of them voted for Donald Trump compared to only 55% of them for Kamala Harris. And as for voters in the 65 or over category, they basically split them down the middle. So the idea that the future definitely belongs to Democrats, not seeing a lot of evidence of that at this point. Age by gender. Young men 18 to 29, 49-47 Harris. Dead even, basically. Even women 18 to 29, she won 63% of those women, but 36% voted in favor of Donald Trump. This is the broadest, most diverse coalition Republicans have had in my lifetime. And that is not just because Donald Trump is a unique character, although he certainly is. That is because the Democrats are off their meds, and they've been off their meds for quite a while, and that is perfectly obvious. You want to know how you get a reaction like this? By going off your damned meds. That's how you go. That's how you get this. You get so high on your own Obama-era supply that you cannot connect with the American people anymore. You've just lost it. Now, the Wall Street Journal had a breakdown of some of the biggest points here. Okay, again, when it comes to the Senate races, McCormick is going to prevail over Bob Casey. Eric Hovde is still locked in a super tight battle with Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin. Unclear who wins there. Mike Rogers locked in a super tight battle in Michigan with Elise Slotkin. Bernie Moreno has beaten Sherrod Brown in Ohio. Tim Sheehy has beaten John Tester in Montana. And Sam Brown looks like he's got the advantage against Jackie Rosen in Nevada. That means that Republicans are very, very likely to end the evening with somewhere between 53 and 54 seats, minimum. Okay, that is a durable Senate majority in this day and age. Okay, it's a sweeping victory for Donald Trump. It's a sweeping victory for the Republican Party. And so now we have to get into the real winners and losers of this election cycle, because there are some big winners and there is some big losers. So, big winners of the election cycle. Obviously, President Trump. When we talk to the top about President Trump, can't say enough about him in terms of his personal durability, in terms of what he is willing to go through, and in terms of his unique appeal to the American body politic. It turns out that being incredibly famous and incredibly popular before you run for president is a real asset. And Donald Trump has a unique thing, which is he is always Donald Trump. Donald Trump is he's not ever not Donald Trump. I've seen Donald Trump in multiple, I've seen him meet hostage families. I've seen him meet donors. I've seen Donald Trump on stage. I've seen him off stage. I've seen him in private meetings. I've seen him in public meetings. Donald Trump is the same everywhere. He is perfectly authentic. And he is authentically the 47th president of the United States. Thank God. Other big winners last night. Got to shout one out to my man, Joe Biden. Slow clap for my boy, Joe Biden. Woo! Joe Biden somewhere. He's walking down a beach in Zihuatanejo to meet up with Donald Trump. Because here's the reality. Ain't nobody in America who wanted Kamala Harris to lose more than Joseph Robinette Biden. He wanted Kamala Harris to go down in flames. He's getting his final dream, Joe Biden, right now. Get to more on that in just one moment. First, Grand Canyon University, a private Christian university in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, believes we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights: life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. GCU believes in equal opportunity and that the American dream starts with purpose. GCU equips you to serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and creates a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. By honoring your career calling, you impact your family, your friends, and your community, change the world for good by putting others before yourself to glorify God. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's online, on-campus, and hybrid learning environments are designed to help you achieve your unique academic, personal, and professional goals. With 350 academic programs as of June 2024, GCU meets you where you are and provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others, that's yours. Let it flourish. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. I visited their campus, by the way, a gorgeous campus. I know many people who have gone to GCU. It's a terrific place. Go check it out right now, gcu.edu. Again, that is Grand Canyon University at gcu.edu. Private, Christian, affordable. Also, when we started Daily Wire, the biggest question mark was what we would do with HR. It's something you really don't think about because, you're focused on creating engaging content. It makes it difficult to find a management professional capable of handling the day-to-day HR tasks. If that sounds like you and your business, you need to talk to my friends over at Bambee. With Bambee, you're not just getting a dedicated HR manager, you're getting a dedicated partner who's available by phone, email, real-time chat. They'll handle crucial tasks like employee onboarding, terminations, and performance reviews. With Bambee's HR autopilot feature, you can streamline essential HR practices like employee training and feedback procedures, freeing up time for what really matters to your business. All of Bambee's HR managers are based in the United States and can support the nuances across all 50 states. HR managers can easily cost $80,000 annually. Bambee starts at just $99 monthly. So no matter the size of your business, Bambee can work for you. Don't wait another minute. Schedule your free consultation. Visit Bambee.com right now. Type Ben Shapiro under podcast when you sign up. Spelled BAMBEE.com, BAMBEE.com, Bambee.com. Type in Ben Shapiro. Okay, so back to our winners and losers. Big winner number one, obviously President Trump. Big winner number two, Joe Biden. That dude had himself the best evening last night because here is your story if you're Joe Biden. You're the only person who's ever beat Donald Trump. You are. You beat Donald Trump in 2020. And then they said you needed to leave. You were too old. You had to go. So they shivved you in the middle of the night and tossed your body off the back of the train. And there you are lying and bleeding. And you're whispering to Barack Obama, she's too flawed. She's going to lose. You should have stuck with Madeline. But it was too late. It was too late. And so if you are Joe Biden, your greatest wish was for Kamala Harris to lose. You wanted her to lose. Now, I'm not saying that purposefully Joe Biden called half Americans garbage just so she'd lose. But it is a little weird. See, the thing is, if Joe Biden is just the guy who is a transitional president to Kamala Harris, then she is the historic first female president. And he's just a white guy between Barack Obama and Kamala Harris. That's how history treats him. But if he's the only person who was able to stand up to the scourge of Donald Trump, and then he was unfairly deposed after his historic presidency by a cabal of backstabbing insurrectionists, then he gets to be a victim the rest of his life. He gets to keep claiming he would have beaten Trump no matter what, even clearly if he would not have. So Joe Biden, big winner last night. So clap, cheers, applause for Joe Biden. Really, really well done. I don't think it was a coincidence that Jill Biden wore a red suit to vote yesterday. Another big winner last night, Elon Musk. Okay, so you know what I think of Elon. I think Elon is great. I think Elon is not only a historic figure, I think he's a world historic figure. His optimism about technology, about the nature of human beings, about the necessity for more human beings, about innovation, about entrepreneurship is awesome. It's just awesome stuff. It's great. And Elon Musk put everything on the line here because the Democrats were already making noises. His head was on the chopping block if Donald Trump lost. And everyone knew it. Rachel Maddow was calling for him to lose all government contracts, despite the fact that he is still running the only truly efficient space program in the world right now. They were talking about going after Starlink. Elon Musk, as a point of principle, he didn't have to do this. He's the richest man on earth. He didn't have to do anything. Put himself out there on behalf of Donald Trump, freed up free speech on X by buying it simply because he was pissed off at a joke that the Babylon Bee was banned for. And then he proceeded to sink millions of his own dollars into a get out the vote effort on behalf of Donald Trump. He wins big. Elon, American hero. Other winners, Joe Rogan. Okay, Joe Rogan, and frankly, my entire alternative media industry. So listen, Joe is the granddaddy of us all when it comes to the podcasting industry. Joe Rogan not only endorsed Donald Trump, him having on Donald Trump and J.D. Vance in the late stages of the campaign, reminded people that these are authentic humans. And it's Kamala Harris's fault that she couldn't go on Joe Rogan. That is totally her fault. You want to know why you couldn't reach over to bros? Kamala, the reason that you couldn't reach out to bros is because it turns out you wouldn't even talk to bros. You don't understand bros. But Joe Rogan does, and he was shamed for this. And he was hit with whips and scourges for the great sin of talking to the bros. And guess what? The bros had their revenge last night. And I like Joe personally. I'm friends with Joe personally. Joe has stood up to a lot of bullcrap over the course of the last 5-10 years. Congratulations to Joe Rogan, who put himself out there when he didn't have to. And congratulations to us as an extension, all of us in the conservative media. Don't want to pat ourselves on the back, but some of us worked pretty damned hard in this election cycle against the Kamala Harris Democratic Party machine. Some of us sank hundreds of thousands of our own dollars into, say, flying across the country to campaign with various Republican Senate candidates, and then spent pretty much every working hour trying to figure out ways to ensure that they would not regain power after Inauguration Day. And so, the alternative media worked. We countered the narrative. We did it. And frankly, you should subscribe because we did that. I mean, you should join us. I know many of you already are. I know you were fighting too. Other winners, the Trump machine. Shout out to Susie Wiles, Chris LaCivita, Charlie Kirk, Don Jr., the whole Trump team. A lot of people were skeptical. Sometimes I was skeptical because, from the outside, sometimes it looks like chaos. When you win, you win. And I got to say, this was a much more disciplined Trump campaign than 2020. Way, way, way more disciplined. And when it comes to people like Scott Presley turning people out, making sure that people actually get to the polls, congrats to all those folks. Okay, now time for our big losers of the evening. So big losers of the evening, obviously Kamala Harris. Man, oh man, was the empty vessel shattered. Kamala Harris was never joy. She was never brat. She was never nothing. She was terrible in her first iteration as progressive senator running for president. She was terrible in her second iteration as vice president. And she was awful in her third iteration as presidential candidate. She is toast. She will not be missed. No one's going to remember her. No one cares about her. People can't wait for her to get out of here fast enough. Joe Biden may have been right. They would have been better off leaving the dead old man in place just to avoid what just happened. Okay, big loser number 2, Barack Obama. Barack Obama has been the shadow government of the Democratic Party since he left office. It's been his people in the Biden administration. It was Barack Obama who backed Joe Biden in the 2020 race. It was Barack Obama who helped pick Kamala Harris for VP in the 2020 race. It was Barack Obama who put his thumb on the scale in favor of Kamala Harris to replace Joe Biden. It was Barack and Michelle Obama who were out campaigning and lecturing black men that they must be a bunch of sexists if they didn't vote for Kamala Harris. And as it turns out, Barack Obama is capable of generating popularity for one person and one person only. His name is Barack Obama. Other than that, Barack Obama, who tore apart the country for his own personal glorification in 2012, in what I thought was the most ugly election of my lifetime, truly, ripping apart a person who is of good character like Mitt Romney, just to gain power, and ripping apart the country in the process. Barack Obama has been chastised by the American people twice by Donald Trump, and he deserves it. No one could more richly deserve it than Barack Obama, who sees at least half the country as bitter clingers who cling to God and guns and xenophobia because they disagree with him up there on Mount Olympus, that jack. Other losers, the big universities. So you decided you wanted to define policy for an entire political party. How's that working out for you, gang? It turns out that if you let all the moronic college students and administrators at Columbia University dictate your party platform, people don't like it very much. In fact, the only demographic that Kamala Harris did well with were college-educated white women. That was pretty much it. That was like the whole thing. That's the only place where she seemed to overperform. Major education gap. That is not because smarter people voted for Kamala. That is because more indoctrinated people voted for Kamala Harris. People who speak the lingo, who are part of the virtue signaling club. But here is the problem. That does not confer wisdom, as my friend Dennis Prager likes to say. The major universities have been churning out good little apparatchiks for a very long time, good little activists. And the federal government's been subsidizing them. Joe Biden was trying to subsidize them to the tune of tens of billions of dollars. And I'd just like to point out at this point, you followed the universities down that primrose path to hell. You deserve every bit of this Democratic Party. And universities, you know what's coming. You know what's coming under Donald Trump. There ain't going to be no student loan bailout. There are going to be investigations into your violations of the Civil Rights Act. There are going to be investigations into your violations of the Equal Protection Clause. Get ready. It's coming. And there should be. You've been violating them willy-nilly for decades. Finally, the biggest losers of all, our friends over in the legacy media. You schmucks, you. Truly, every narrative you trotted out was a fail. Your credibility is in the toilet. It is irrecoverable. It is broken beyond all recognition. You did it, not us. All we did is we pointed out what you were doing. You did it yourselves. We didn't even have to do it. You did it. You trotted out a narrative that Donald Trump was Hitler, and it was nonsense. It's always been nonsense. You know what Hitler doesn't do? Go for an October 7th event with me to the grave of Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson to meet with hostage families. That's not what Hitler does. That is, you know what Hitler doesn't do? Win 45% of the Hispanic vote. That's not something that Hitler tends to do. You schmucks, you. Saying that Joe Biden was perfectly well and anybody who doubted it was engaging in cheap fakes. Then proclaiming that Kamala Harris was brat and joy and that Tim Walz wasn't some weirdo goofball. People saying that J.D. Vance, the most normie higher office candidate since Mitt Romney, is somehow an emissary of bizarreness, while you trot out Sam Brinton, a man who dresses up as a woman and steals luggage, as your example of what American masculinity ought to look like. You idiots. You've destroyed yourselves. And the only thing that you could think to do was not change your direction. The only thing you could think to do was to then try to cudgel social media into doing your bidding. Well, guess what? It ain't going to work. It's over. It's over. Don't get me wrong. The New York Times will still exist. The Washington, these places will continue to exist. They're institutions. But your credibility, gone. Toast. Goodbye. See you later. Irrecoverable unless you change directions, unless you figure it out. In just a second, I'm going to get to Donald Trump's victory speech. And you know what that means? It's beginning around here to smell, actually. Smell like victory. Behold, this here. He smells like victory. The Churchill. We like Winston Churchill here at the Daily Wire. This right here is the Daily Wire Churchill smells like victory candle. Behold. Behold. In the great words of Winston Churchill, victory at all costs, victory in spite of all terror, victory, however long and hard the road may be, for without victory, there is no survival. Yes, this candle was my idea. I do love Winston Churchill, and also I love victory. Not tired of winning yet. Not tired of it in the slightest. Lighting a candle, a votive candle for Kamala Harris's hopes and dreams at this point in time. This new candle, which smells like heaven, is available exclusively on the Candle Club with 20% off right now in honor of this historic victory. You see that V right there, the V for victory? Oh yeah, go to thecandleclub.com to shop my collection today. That does smell delightful. Also, you may have heard, last night some things happened. Donald Trump pulled off the greatest political comeback in history, becoming the 47th president of the United States of America. We told you we'd cover the election from start to finish, and we delivered. Boy, did we deliver. But more importantly, you delivered. You showed up to vote. You did the thing, guys. America, you did the thing. You made your voice heard. You made this victory possible. Listen, we have big battles ahead, but we've proven time and time and time again, just like last night, when we fight, we win. If you're not a member yet, now is the moment. Join the fight. Join us. It's been awesome so far. It's getting even better. It's getting better from here. Go to dailywire.com/subscribe. Use code TRUMP for 47% off. Yes, that's right. Code TRUMP for 47% off. 47% off for our 47th President of the United States. Yeah, baby. Yeah, don't miss out. Join us at dailywire.com/subscribe with code TRUMP. Speaking of which, Trump came out very late last night, and he gave his victory speech. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, Central Time. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Time is when he actually gave this speech. And it was delightful. It was delightful. I mean, he gets out there, and one of the first things he says is what I've said here today. God spared his life for a reason. That is so, it's just true. It's just true. I'm sorry, you can't watch that video. I said it the day it happened. You can't watch the video of him turn his head this much and the bullet graze his ear and not think, this man's life is being spared for a reason. It just is. Here's Trump saying it.
Many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, then Donald Trump said he has an unprecedented and powerful mandate, and that is true. This is the first. He's going to win the popular vote, guys. That means he's the first Republican president to win the popular vote and the Electoral College since George W. Bush in 2004, which is now 20 years ago. Here's Donald Trump.
I hope that you're going to be looking back someday and say that was one of the truly important moments of my life when I voted for this group of people beyond the president, this group of great people. America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate. We have taken back control of the Senate. Wow, that's good.
So good. Okay, Donald Trump then said a couple of things that I particularly loved. And honestly, it was all wonderful. It was all joyous. Last night was just a great night. It was just a great night. So President Trump went out of his way. The crowd started chanting for Elon, which they should, because again, I'm a fanboy. Elon's awesome. So Trump praises Elon, and he says something that's so important. Like it's a throwaway line, but it's not a throwaway line at all. Here was Trump praising Elon Musk.
You have something called Starlink, is that right? Yes, I do. What the hell is it? He said, it's a communication system that's very good. I said, Elon, they need it really, really badly in North Carolina. Can you get it? He had that there so fast, it was incredible. And it was great. It saved a lot of lives. He saved a lot of lives. But he's a character, he's a special guy, he's a super genius. We have to protect our geniuses. We don't have that many of them. We have to protect our super geniuses.
We have to protect our geniuses. Okay, it's a throwaway funny line. It's not a throwaway funny line. You know who creates innovation? The real innovation? People who are smart, people who innovate. And a country worth its salt does have to protect those people. It does have to incentivize those people. Otherwise, you get what's called a brain drain, because it turns out smart people can leave. This is what China is currently facing. China has to enforce basically a crackdown on anybody who's smart in the country so they don't just get the hell out. When Trump says we need to incentivize, we need to protect our geniuses, he is right. That is a good thing, an actively good thing. You want a thriving economy? You want innovation for the future? You want better and cooler stuff? Protect your geniuses. Okay, then there is this. So Donald Trump, obviously RFK Jr., signed on to the Trump campaign, and it made some difference because, the margins are big enough in many of these states, but it's not like Trump won by 800,000 votes in Pennsylvania. He's going to end up winning the state by 120, 140,000 votes. So it makes a big difference. But he's talking to RFK, and he likes a lot of RFK's agenda, make America healthy again and all that. But then he drops this, because here's the thing. Trump is practical. Trump likes to win. He does not like to lose. So here he was saying to RFK, don't touch the oil, buddy. Don't touch it. Don't go there.
Bobby, leave the oil to me. We have more liquid gold, oil and gas. We have more liquid gold than any country in the world, more than Saudi Arabia. We have more than Russia. Bobby, stay away from the liquid gold. Other than that, go have a good time, Bobby.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so Kamala Harris has yet to concede. Last night, it was obvious she had lost. It was perfectly obvious. Right? I had declared in the studio that she had lost about midnight. About midnight, it was perfectly obvious, Central Time, that she had lost the election because Pennsylvania was trending away from her, Michigan was trending away from her, Wisconsin was trending away from her. There was no real path. It was over. Well, it got to about 2:30 in the morning, and she still had not conceded. In fact, as we are speaking right now, she still has not actually conceded the race officially. Cedric Richmond, her co-chair, actually got out there last night and told everybody to go home.
We still have votes to count. We still have states that have not been called yet. We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every vote is counted, that every voice has spoken. So you won't hear from the vice president tonight, but you will hear from her tomorrow. She will be back here tomorrow to address not only the HU family, not only to address her supporters, but to address the nation.
Okay, so she sends out Cedric Richmond. She runs away. She's deep in the wine by now, obviously. I would just like you to imagine the media hysteria if the same situation were reversed. If she had won and Trump at almost noon the next day Eastern time still had not called to concede. Apparently she's expected to speak at 4 p.m. Eastern and will call Trump right before that to concede. But pretty amazing, amazing stuff, obviously. Okay, well, now we get to the most pleasurable part of this for those of us who like Schadenfreude, the tears. So all night we were having trouble with the plumbing in this office because the amount of water, it was basically flooded. Just the sheer quantity of leftist tears that were just randomly overflowing. I mean, we have lots of these hanging around our offices, like hundreds or thousands of them hanging around here. And like every single one of them was magically pouring forth extraordinary quantities of tears, of leftist tears. And boy, the tears are coming, they are coming fast. So our friend Cenk Uygur over at Young Turks, he led off the evening with a typically well-calibrated emotional response.
They're lying to you. Why do you think they keep losing? You think they keep telling you how smart they are and how they're going to deliver you victories. And all they ever do is deliver loss after loss after loss. So Democratic voters, snap out of it. These guys are obvious liars. Fire them all. fire them all. And if you don't, okay, then keep losing to buffoons, to obvious con men like Donald Trump. Keep losing and losing and losing and never figuring it out. Here, I solved it for you. I figured it out. It's a goddamn corruption. All the stupid donor money, all it's ever done is lead to more losses. So if you don't fire them, you have no one to blame but yourself.
You know, I mean, at least Cenk is delivering his ire at the right target, the Democratic Party. Meanwhile, the full-scale TikTok meltdowns are upon us. Here is just one Kamala supporter having a full-scale mental breakdown.
We may not have rights tomorrow. So I'm going to bed with the last bit of dignity that I have left. But we fought a good fight, and if it turns out that, shit flips, great, hell yeah. But right now, I'm just not. I can't deal with this right now.
Her life is not going to change one iota. Just going to point that out. It's actually just going to get better because she'll have a better economy and no wars. Here's another one. We have plenty where that came from. Again, the tears are just, they overflow with. Here's some more crying from Kamala supporters. A lot of tears.
All right, guys, it's time to go to bed. None of us are stressed about the election, right? We all are gonna just go have the best night's sleep of our lives, aren't we?
Would you like some more? Because I have more. Go for it, guys. More.
I hate to be the person that gets on here and cries, but this could break me and my parents apart because they just don't understand what they voted for and what it means and the bigotry and hatred that they stand behind and how I am trying to be a good person. I'm not Catholic like they are, which is ironic because religion's supposed to make you love. But I could see it breaking me and my parents apart because they just don't get it and they don't get that they voted
so
for.
maybe we can. I don't need more of her. I don't need more of her suffering. Okay, because I'm too kind-hearted. But I will say, maybe her parents are the correct ones. I know this is something that actually young people should think about. What if your parents are right? What if they are? It turns out kibud av ve'em, respect for your father and mother in the Bible, one of the 10 commandments that we've forgotten about. We've got many of them. That's a big one. What if that one happens to be mostly right? Just going to put that one out there. Meanwhile, in the more mainstream legacy media, we have broken into just a few different categories. We've got full-scale full-scale denial. Full-scale denial. So Mika Brzezinski was in full-scale denial last night. She says that not only did Kamala Harris run a solid campaign, she ran the best campaign. She still is Brad and Joy. She is Brad and Joy. Now, people asked me last night on the broadcast, what were Democrats going to do? What were the media going to do? Who are they going to blame? In 2016, they blamed the Russians and Facebook, and they blamed Trump for being a Russian cat's paw or something. So who are they going to blame this time? And I said, they're going to blame America. That's where this is going. Get ready for it, because that's the corollary. If Kamala is the best you got and you still lose, maybe it's because you're wrong and you hate a lot of Americans. Here's Mika Brzezinski saying that Kamala is brat, joy, wonder.
I just want to say a word about Kamala Harris, the vice president, because she really put herself out there over the past few months at great risk and peril to herself and her family. She was thrown into the deep end of the pool politically and hit all her marks and then some, and showed up for America, pushing back against negative forces from all sides and from those you couldn't even see, the ones we were just talking about. It's really difficult to describe what she did, what she tried to do, and the history that she did make, I'm very grateful for. And perhaps we will learn from it. So I'm very grateful for the effort, and I think we'll be asking a lot of questions about ourselves and about the nature of how this all played out.
But just remember, she was wonderful. Joy Reid, who is so filled with joy. I mean, it runs off of her in waves, the joy from Joy Reid. So well named. She says that Kamala she just ran a flawless campaign, like a beautiful, bright diamond, completely flawless, top grade.
Nothing that was true yesterday about how flawlessly this campaign was run is not true now. I mean, this really was an historic, flawlessly run campaign. Queen Latifah never endorses anyone. She came out and endorsed. She had every prominent celebrity voice. She had the Taylor Swift, she had the Swifties, she had the Beehive. Like, you could not have run a better campaign in that short period of time. And I think that's still true.
Just so magical, so magical. So first it was denial. But the corollary of the denial, if she's so great, why did she lose? And that brings us to the actual place Democrats are likely to land. And this is political suicide, what they're about to do. They're engaging. We need a wellness check on the Democrats. What they are doing right now is political suicide. They're going to blame Americans. They're going to say the problem was not our candidate. The problem was not our machine. The problem is that Americans suck. So Jill Filipovich, who writes about women's rights, U.S. politics, and foreign affairs, quote, in the coming days, there's going to be a lot of opining about what the Harris campaign did wrong. But this election was not an indictment of Kamala Harris. It was an indictment of America. You garbage. You did this, you garbage people with your garbage. Or how about Nicole Hannah-Jones, one of the most privileged beneficiaries of the American system, given the fact that she has no actual skill set and lies for a living, and yet has been made rich and famous by those things. She put out an entire tweet thread. I won't read the whole thing because she's a terrible writer and a liar. But she says, quote, we must not delude ourselves in this moment. Multiracial democracy in the United States is less than 60 years old. It has always been contested, often violently so. It has always been fragile. Since this nation's inception, large swaths of white Americans, including white women, have claimed a belief in democracy while actually enforcing a white ethnocracy. In the face of shifting demographics, where white Americans will lose their numeric majority, we see a growing embrace of autocracy to keep the legitimate rulers of this country in power. History teaches us that we are in a fragile moment. So I'm just going to point out right now that Donald Trump won 45% of the Hispanic vote and 20% of the black male vote and has the most multiracial, multi-ethnic Republican coalition in modern American history. But it doesn't matter because they're just going to keep doubling down on this. Americans, you suck. You're bad. This is their program. Martina Navratilova, the tennis player, quote, well, Trump won. Fear and anger won. A country that was born as a racist patriarchy proved beyond any reasonable doubt it is still a racist patriarchy, says the incredibly rich and famous lesbian female tennis player. But we have to return to our friend Joy Reid and all of her joy. Here she is blaming Americans. You knew it was coming. I did anyway, because I'm good at this.
You know, if they didn't make their numbers and essentially exceed the numbers that Joe Biden had in the suburbs. And I think we have to be blunt about why. Black voters came through for Kamala Harris. White women voters did not. That is what it appears happened in that state.
Okay, but that's not true. That's not actually true. Black voters showed up in lower numbers for Kamala Harris. She actually underperformed Joe Biden with black voters. So yeah, that's not true. But again, remember, it's you white Americans, it's you. How about Jonathan Capehart over at the Washington Post and MSNBC? He says, I just want to know, have Americans given up on democracy? I love this kind of talk. It's like sweet music to my ears. Donald Trump wins the popular vote in the Electoral College. And they're like, maybe the Americans gave up on democracy. They just voted, just not for you. What happened last night was democracy. Here we go.
I can't help but wonder if the American people have given up on democracy simply because of what he's told us, what he wants to do, simply because of what the Supreme Court decided in terms of immunity. I mean, he has said he wants to go after his political enemies.
Oh my God, these people. But keep doing it. You know what? Keep doing it. Please, more. Keep doing it. I want them to run this campaign until the end of time. Please, keep doing this. Keep doing this until the American people get tired of clocking you in the head. Because that's what happened last night. How about David Axelrod? Why did she lose? Wait for it. It's because all you Americans, particularly you black men, as well as you Hispanics, racist. Here is David Axelrod, white dude, telling you about how all you diverse peoples who voted for Donald Trump, all you Jews, all you Hispanics, all you black people, just a little, all you white women who voted in favor of Donald Trump, a little bit sexist too. Let this white man tell you, let him mansplain this one to you. Here we go.
let's be honest about this, okay? Let's be absolutely blunt about it. There were appeals to racism in this campaign, and there is racial bias in this country, and there is sexism in this country. And anybody who thinks that that did not in any way impact on the outcome of this race is wrong.
Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep it up. Do it. Al Sharpton, a man who is one of the worst racial conflagrationists in modern American history. Who's he blaming? He's blaming black and Hispanic men. Do it, man. Keep it up. Keep it up. Blame the American people. Do it. Do it.
What do you think pushed that, especially with the Hispanic voters going for Donald Trump as much as they did? Because that made a big difference.
I think that a lot of it was he was able to sell a lot of Hispanic voters that immigration was a threat to them, that some of the people coming across the border was a threat to them. I think that we've got to be honest. Among Hispanic men and black men, there's a lot of misogyny. And I think that we've got to deal with the reality that he appealed to this whole false macho thing that some black men and some Latino men went for.
So, yeah, Al Sharpton, you, black and Hispanic men, you misogynist. John King doing the same thing on CNN. I can do this all day because this is the whole thing. It's you. You bad Americans, you. And then finally, it's just bitterness and panic. That's the other reaction, just bitterness and panic. Here's a headline from the New York Times. Trump storms back. Now, I kind of like it, but if it were Kamala Harris, it would be Kamala Harris elected in historic American moment. Kamala Harris, historic moment, so heroic. A new age dawns. Donald Trump, it's Trump storms back. New York Times headline, his win opens an era of uncertainty opens an era of uncertainty. Where you been, New York Times? New York Times, America hires a strong man. Are we talking about the same Donald Trump, the one who deregulated that one? Are we talking about the one who didn't have foreign wars and the one who was not cracking down on social media and the one who is not prosecuting his political opponents? That guy? Is that's the one we're talking about, right? But here are Joe Scarborough and Jonathan Lemire over at MSNBC in full-scale meltdown panic mode.
What explains it to you?
Well, I think.
Would you like me to say it?
I think.
Or do you want to say it? Well, if she were a 6'4" white man from Arkansas or from Florida, and she ran a good middle of the road campaign talking about reaching out, do you think she would be losing by that much? If she could like chew tobacco and carry a shotgun and talk about football and be a guy's guy, I mean, you tell me.
What happened here? What happened? Jen Psaki, former White House press secretary for Joe Biden, she ripped into Trump as well.
For so many of you watching right now, that news is, to say the least, a lot to digest. I understand that personally. After he lost 4 years ago, he refused to accept the outcome and incited a violent insurrection on our nation's capital. He's campaigned while facing criminal indictments related to his efforts to overturn the 2020 results, and he's run as a convicted felon. During this campaign, he has also promised to essentially be an authoritarian leader, to use power like no American president ever has before, and wield that power to go after his political enemies. This is a man who's also bragged about overturning Roe v. Wade and stripping away women's bodily autonomy. He's promised to conduct mass deportations to crack down on the rights of millions of Americans.
Propagandist, cry harder, do it. So what actually is Donald Trump going to do? Well, I mean, the market spiked this morning, so there was that. Like the market's open, the market spiked, and that is because, of course, everybody knows the economy is going to be way better under Donald Trump. In fact, the markets jumped from the Dow Jones Industrial, jumped from an open at 42,850 all the way up to 43,475. So it went like 600, 700 point jump right at market open. So, not bad. It turns out people kind of optimistic about a Donald Trump presidency. Can't imagine why. Maybe it's all the deregulation and tax cuts that are on their way. Maybe it's the fact that actually Donald Trump knows kind of how to run a business and a bunch of people around him have run businesses. Maybe it's that. Or maybe it's the fact that Donald Trump's actually going to reinstate all of his border policies. Remain in Mexico going to go right back in place. We are going to get a revision of the asylum rules. So you actually have to show evidence that you are here claiming asylum before you are simply allowed into the country. There'll be a lot of stuff that changes on the border. Maybe it's that foreign policy is going to get a lot more solid, that he's going to appoint a bunch of fantastic people to his foreign policy team. I mean, I can tell you this. Obviously, as you all know, I've got a lot of friends in Israel with all the being Jewish and all. People over there are just as ecstatic, if not more so, than most of the Republicans that I know in the United States. Donald Trump's favorability ratings in the state of Israel are like 85%, like super duper high. Bibi Netanyahu, for his part, called him up even before news outlets began to call the election in his favor. And in an English language statement, he said, "Congratulations on history's greatest comeback. Your historic return to the White House offers a new beginning for America and a powerful recommitment to the great alliance between Israel and America. This is a huge victory." And he is not wrong. By the way, for the record, Vladimir Zelensky called up to congratulate Trump. He also put out a statement, quote, "Congratulations to Donald Trump on his impressive election victory. I recall our great meeting with President Trump back in September when we discussed in detail the Ukraine-U.S. strategic partnership, the victory plan, and ways to put an end to Russian aggression against Ukraine." And he said he admires Trump's commitment to peace through strength. The world's about to get a lot quieter, because guess what? People are scared of Donald Trump, and they should be. The Supreme Court. It is worth remembering at this point that Justice John Roberts is 69 years old, that Clarence Thomas is 76 years old, that Samuel Alito is 74 years old. Before Donald Trump leaves office, he will be appointing justices who are much younger to take those slots, and a whole slate of conservative justices across the country. Young conservative judges across all of these places. Deregulation is coming. Things are going to get better. Your life is going to get better. So here's the question for Democrats. Where do they go next? Where do Democrats go next? Well, I have some bad news for where Democrats go next. I want to show you a map. This should scare the living daylights out of Democrats. So if you don't like how the Electoral College is going for you right now, wait a couple of years. You remember that I pointed out earlier this week that if the census had been done correctly in 2020, then a bunch of red states that are not in the Rust Belt would have actually picked up a bunch of Electoral College votes. Right? They picked up a bunch of electoral votes. Well, here is what the 2030 apportionment forecast looks like according to the American Redistricting Project. Okay, this is by 2030. Okay, if I'm reading my map correctly, what you are looking at is 3 electoral votes added in the great state of Florida. You are looking at 1 electoral vote added in the state of Georgia, 1 added in Tennessee, 1 added in North Carolina. That's 6 in deep red states. Move on over to Texas. 4 added in Texas. That is now 10 in deep red states. Move over to Arizona. That's 11. Move on up to Idaho. That's 12. That's 12 electoral votes added in deep red states. Deep red states. And where is the loss coming from? Predominantly, it's coming from the Northeast. It's coming from Illinois. It's coming from California, which is going to lose 4 electoral votes. Those are bad. That's some bad news. That's some bad news happening right there. Okay, so if you don't like the map now, wait until Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan all keep turning red the way that Ohio did. And people keep leaving blue areas for red areas because it turns out red states are better to live in than blue states. So if you're the Democrats, prepare for pain. Alrighty, folks, in just a second, I want to get to what Democrats do next because they are in a state of bewilderment. If you're not a member, however, you're not going to see it. You have to become a member. Join us. It's been an amazing ride, and it's only getting better from here. Use code Shapiro at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. Click the link in the description and join us.